Hello, everyone. How's that look? Ooh. It always looks so dark in my apartment, but the lighting is actually pretty decent right now. It's funny when you get on camera how that works. I hope everybody's having a great day. I'm waiting for everybody to join. I'm real excited for today's topic, and I'm not distracted with my alchemy today. So, hey, Angela, right on time. How's your day going? Is it the 6th already? Is it time for the new moon? Losing track of my days. I need to get on my rituals and things that I have planned. All right, well, let's just get right to it, y'all. I wanted to talk about oh, excellent, Angela. I can't wait to hear it. Do share if you want to talk about it. Um, yeah, I did want to talk today about reprogramming. To sum it all up very succinctly, and Angela's heard me talk about this before, like I definitely view the human mind as a computer, basically. We all humans, we're all hardware. And then throughout life, when you come into this world, you're a blank slate. And you do have the hardware, you're constructed a certain way, but throughout life, you're constantly receiving like programming, which is beliefs and understandings of the world. Like when you're a kid, you're taught, how to walk, how to talk, how to think, colors, different things about this world. But also you're like watching your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your people around you, your friends, how everybody operates. And that starts to lay down the initial programming. And, they're saying once, like after the first 5 or 6 years in your life, your personality is set. That is so true. And I think people really need to take that a step further and understand that, like, those first years are critical because they're the base layer. We're all multi-layer. We're like onions walking around. We're also like flowers, which they unfold. But that first few years is like the base layer. It's the foundation of who you are. So that's when like the foundation is laid for who you are. So it's critical, and that's something I try to express to like new parents and people with young kids. It's like we think, oh well, because they won't remember specifically what happens to them, those years aren't as important. It's like, no, they're critical, because that's the foundation of who you are. That's when the encoding is the most heavy. But after that, you just get layer upon layer and layer of like programming and beliefs. And the unfortunate side of that is that, and that's all done through the subconscious, you all, which is the aspect of ourselves that a lot of us don't really take the time to familiarize ourselves with. But it also controls like a huge percentage of our behavior. Our conscious attention and energy can only take so much, only has so much bandwidth. So a lot of the times our behaviors and the way we operate throughout the day are based on the subconscious. And the characteristics of the subconscious, we talked about this a little before, is that it just observes and it takes in everything. There's no filter. So whatever is introduced to it, it makes a note of it and it just keeps storing, storing, storing. So you get to this point in life where, and I've felt myself ease into this maturing from a child to an adult, where you just become really acquainted with the ways of the world and that adventurous spirit, that wonder, that curiosity that we all have as children kind of goes away because we become familiar with how the world works. I'm gonna try something out real quick, you all. I hope you don't mind. with this lighting. Angela's heard me talk about all this stuff before, like a preacher. Do you like it better with this lighting or without, Angela? Let's keep this lighting. Um, so you reach a certain point where it's like you become really, you know, the ways of the world and things aren't as new or as exciting anymore. And you have a bit of wisdom as well, but it's like you're indoctrinated into the way that things are. And hey, Courtney, how are you? That goes pretty much unquestioned until you have some sort of traumatic or some sort of shake up life event. And then you start to, if you're fortunate enough, you start to re examine some of your beliefs. Awesome, Angela. And for me, that was my spiritual journey, which a lot of you can relate to, I'm sure. But the things that seem so solid that you've learned and all the information you've acquired growing up, you reach a point where you do start to question it. Okay, that's better. Perfect. The natural light was good, but this is a little something extra. So you start to oh, April. Um oh, the other, okay, we'll go without then. Angela says go without. All right, so until you have that experience, you may not question things because you just accept realities of like the world and the way things are as you've learned them. But when you do reach that critical part of your journey, you start to become aware of the subconscious and the control that it has. Certain agreements that were made that you may not be consciously aware of, but you start to understand that beliefs are just programming, like they're all just programming, and there's a reality outside of that. And so a lot of those beliefs are what we call limiting beliefs because by agreeing to believe in that stuff, you limit yourself. Like it's like, okay, well, I have to go to work to make money and I have to get a job. Hey, April, she joined us. Um, but that's the limiting belief, you all. Like, you don't have to be employed by somebody else. As a matter of fact, if you want to be rich, that's almost a certain way not to be rich, you know? And I know that's kind of cynical, but it's like, well, if you want to access unlimited wealth and then be in control of that, you need to employ other people or you need to be in charge of your own employment anyway. You can't be reliant on somebody else because your employment dictates that there's always going to be somebody in charge and who's going to receive more of a benefit because they're the ones who are in control. So, like, you can do well working for other people in the right arrangement, but you'll always be reliant on them to determine your pay rate and relying that everything goes well. And naturally, you gotta expect that they're gonna make more than you because why would somebody employ you and then give you more than they're making? Like that doesn't even follow logic. So, we all have these limited beliefs encoded within us. And for some people, they're on the very deep, deep. I mean, I'd say for most, they're on the deep, deep foundational layers. I talked about how the base layer is the first 6 years of your life. Um, some of these beliefs are so embedded deep within that it's hard to even identify them, much less do anything about them. But as you start to peel back the layers on this journey, you discover these limited beliefs. And going back to the analogy of the computer, y'all, limiting beliefs are like viruses. or little bugs in the system, and they reduce the efficiency of the operation of the system, of your computer, your mind. So it's important to go through and pick out these limiting beliefs and try to heal them. Because just like you have to debug your software in your computer at your house, you need to debug constantly and update your system as well. Because um, yes, put the antivirus software. Yes, April agrees. Yeah, because it's just making you a much less efficient person, and a lot of times these agreements or beliefs that we've taken on really benefit other people. So they were instilled in us by other people for their benefit. And when you start to take charge of your own programming, become aware of your own subconscious, you have the power to insert the programming that's going to benefit you and allow you to be in control of your own life. So that's what a lot of this work on the spiritual journey is. And just maturing and recognizing your own power. It's like identifying the programs that are limiting beliefs, understanding who they serve, and then replacing them with empowering programs. Things are either empowering or disempowering, so you want to replace them. That's why I titled the name of this Reprogramming, because that is the work. And just like your cell phone, just like your computer, you need regular updates. You know, when you have new information, you need to update the entire system, because it's like, why would you run on a 2012 system when it's 2019? Okay, you need to stay, you need to get current, stay with it. And there are better ways of doing things. Absolutely, April. So, absolutely. So that's the work, you all, like identifying these programs. And I just wanted to say, I know April's been doing the work. That's why she's like in the amen corner over there. But Angela, I know Courtney, you've all been doing the work, but there are different tools we can use to the program, you all. Magic is one of them. That's what I've been using lately. Um, and there's different spiritual practices, there's meditation, which is a great one for helping you identify those things. But I just wanted to tell you all that, like, all right, first of all, you'll never, like, I think the journey always goes one on one. So you'll start peeling back the layers, peeling back the layers, peeling back the layers. And you're gonna keep going. Like, I don't think you'll ever get to an end per se, but you will make progress. And y'all, those things are buried deep in there. Like, you may think you've like discovered your limiting beliefs and stuff, but when you discover them and you start to try to override them, which you can do with affirmations, that's what we're doing in our money manifestation group. When you override those beliefs with affirmation and repetition, and when you're starting to break the patterns, it can be a freaking you know what. I'm not going to say the word. It can be a you know what trying to get in there and change the programming, because some of those things are so foundational. So at this point in my journey, I'm realizing like, it's work, you all, and it's not even as hard per se, but it's definitely work. Like, because when you start to create a new pattern in your life, that's the other thing about the limiting beliefs and the programming is all patterns. So when you choose a new pattern, it takes a little something to do it, and a lot of it's related to fear. That's what your limiting beliefs are related to. It's like fear of doing it a different way. So when you upset that system that's been there for so long, and when you try to like debug it, remove it and replace it with another program, it can take you through it. And it's not so much that it's even hard on a physical level, on a conscious level, but emotionally, it's like, and you got to really learn how to jump into the void, how to see past the immediate circumstances and look to the other side. And that's the part that can be a bit tricky. And then other people sort of reinforce the programs as well, because they give you the programs, right? Yeah, Angela, please share. Yeah, like it's really the work of, and we talk about alchemy and magic, like that's really what alchemy is, you all. It's like going down to that subconscious, which is like your underworld in spiritual terms, walking through it and then coming back up as the new being. So you do have to do the downward process, and it can be scary. It shouldn't be, because it's not a bad thing, but it is dark. Yeah, Courtney, and you know that on a mental level and intellectual level, it's like, okay, that doesn't make sense. But still, when that's embedded deep into your core and your base programming, it's like it just takes you through. You have to really regress and like heal that. It's all healing, you all. And I was going to do a video on healing, but I'll probably save that for another time. But this is all related to healing yourself. So you have to go down into descend into the underworld, walk through it, and then come back anew, just like that phoenix, right? Burning up and then rising from the ashes. You have to go through that process, and you have to go through it over and over and over again. Yeah, April, and I know you just got the moon cards. So you probably did some real work around that recently. But it's beautiful, y'all. It's a beautiful journey, and it's really, oh, I was saying these people around you, the ones that gave you that programming, they're going to be there to reinforce that programming. And so when you reject it, expect the bad behavior to come out, you know. If they're really good people, ooh, I just got some yellow candles too, April. That's a good idea. If they're really good people, then they'll see the flaw and they'll allow you to be you. Oh yeah, Courtney, please share. Like share it in one of the groups or we'll like in the forum. Hey Nicole, welcome. We're having a good little discussion. I'm glad you all were able to make it. Um, so yeah, you can use magic, you can use spiritual practices and other things to assist you in the work. But people are going to reinforce that program because they're not going to want to let go. Why? Because it's the programming that they've accepted, and by you challenging that, you're upsetting it and you're giving them a new paradigm, a new consciousness. And so their own cognitive dissonance or their own resistance to the process is going to cause them to lash out. And you'll see the bad behavior, you know? And that's how you know it's real. But when you start to reject that, like prepare yourself for that. And then you have to sort of get beyond, see beyond that and look at the goal of who you are and who you're becoming, okay? Um, they may not see that. They may not see the vision. They just see you doing something different and choosing something different. So you all, and I'm gonna be candid with you all. I'm gonna be frank, because why not? This journey of accepting my calling and then starting a business, you know, under kind of extreme circumstances. They're not that extreme. But then not knowing necessarily where the next paycheck's coming from or this, that, and the third, it's been a major paradigm shift for me. And it's been uncomfortable at times. I find myself drifting in and out. Like I have to constantly affirm myself and keep my eyes on the prize and then push down that little voice in my head that's like, what are you doing? Blah, blah, because I know my higher self is like, this is what we're doing. Okay. And this is for your ultimate good. And I can see down the road, and this is why you need, like, this is all in alignment. But it's that little voice of doubt or reason. It's like, are you going to be able to make this payment? Are you going to be able to do this? And it's like, I've had the intervention I've had the signs from the universe supporting me. I've had the intervention every time I doubted in the past or gotten a little like worried, saying, no, you are supported on this journey. But it's such a different way of being for me because I've always been secure. I've always clung to security, reason, and the old way of viewing myself, which was partially constructed by the people around me, is you're the free spirit. You're the one who doesn't know what he wants in life. You're a bit like, you're not assertive. You're like easygoing. You go with the flow. You're easy to manipulate. You're gullible. You're not motivated. You're slow to react or respond. You don't care about the things that are important. You do like all these old programs. They're fucking bullshit. And they're not things that I think about myself per se, but they're things that I have adopted and fears that are in the back of my mind based upon my life experiences up to this point, which, y'all, those don't mean shit, okay? You have the freedom to choose and change every single day what you want to do and how you want to be. And then it's also people's experiences with me because I was allowing that in my life. So when you choose a new program of empowerment that says, I know who the fuck I am, I know what I'm about, I know what I want to do, I know what I'm passionate about, I know what drives me, I'll shut anybody the fuck down that tries to put me in that old box again. When you accept that, it's like a process that that you go through to get to that point. Like you can see it and you can envision it, but to really encode it in you, it takes time. Yeah, April. So like you gotta have compassion for yourself. You have to keep your eyes on the prize. You have to know that whatever you're experiencing right now in front of you is not necessarily how it's going to be. Like one of my favorite videos, in April, I think you've seen this, is like Iana Van Zant. Maybe I'll put the link in the description of this, but she hands out a bunch of wonderful advice. Yeah, Angela. She puts out wonderful advice and she says some things. Absolutely, April. Be in love with yourself. Like, be your own best friend, be your advocate. Like, you set the tone for how people deal with you and what you're about. But that's another story for another day. So, when you adopt these new things, it will ruffle people's feathers. It'll upset you because you are establishing a new pattern in the way you interact with them in their relationships. You're putting up new boundaries. That's April's word. And you're also causing them to question not only their past actions, but currently, like what they're doing and the result of it. So there's going to be some pushback, there's going to be some resistance, but you have to be focused on what you're creating. Exactly, Courtney. And when people judge, yeah, but it's a good word. April, it just came up in one of my readings yesterday that I did for somebody. Yeah, they don't question it, Courtney. They don't want anybody to question it. Why? Because that's another good point. Because questioning it means that life is more complicated than it's perceived. It's like when you just go with the program, you have a perception of how reality is and how it works. And it's cool because we all want security. We all want definitions for things and understanding just as is. But the truth is, life is very spontaneous. And you people may know, like, life is magical when you, like, start to open yourself up, your consciousness and awareness up to these other things that are going on. But like we discussed before, that program that's out there is out there to benefit certain people. So this program that people adopt is not necessarily benefiting them, at least not in the maximum capacity. Exactly, Courtney. Like, I think Angela will tell you that in April. Like, if we've all had that same story, it's like you go to church or you go to any other institutions, you could relate it to like money and credit and stuff like that. Exactly, April. We've all shared that same story. Um, you could relate to money and credit. Like, why does this mean that why does having bad credit mean I'm a bad person? Maybe I was in a position where I couldn't establish good credit because I was, at whatever point. And you're taught, oh, well, you should be more in charge of your life. You should be more responsible. You got to take things seriously. It's bad to have bad credit. Um, it's all a game, you all. It's all a great game created to benefit certain people and let them get ahead and put others behind, okay? People with good credit are people that have money. That's the way it works. Exactly, Angela. And why? Because we benefit them, Like they don't want empowered individuals. Yeah, Courtney, like we don't have get out of here. So, I just participated in the baptism of my niece and nephew this past weekend, and part of me was like, I was very torn about it. I mean, I wasn't torn like emotionally, like I don't care, but part of me is like, okay, this is a sacrament and this is something that starts your spiritual life, so it's not necessarily negative. Hello. Hello, like it's all an illusion, you all. It's all a program. But it's something positive because it helps them establish their spiritual life and blah blah blah. But it's also indoctrination, kind of against their will, necessarily about their beliefs and how they'll like experience their own spirituality. So it's just one of those like, and things in life can be like multifaceted. It's not just one or the other. But anyway, when you will get resistance from the people around you, you will have your own inner resistance in the voice, and you have to really just focus on what you're creating, and envision that, and then draw that down as above, so below. So when you decide what it is that you want to achieve, You create that vision for yourself and you have to draw it down from the ethers, from the higher planes. And that's work, you all. It's not just going to happen instantly. It's a process. And you really have to be tenacious with it. You have to really trust the universe. You have to know that, like, the bills are going to get paid. You have to believe in the sincerity of your purpose and your calling and what you're doing. And then if the bills don't get paid, that's okay too, you all, because there is a price to pay for getting what you want, you know. And that doesn't mean struggle per se, but it's like maybe your lesson is in not having the bills paid. Oh yeah, Angela. You know, if you are part of a tradition and that's a part of it, you don't have to stop that because you're a part of this magical community and or the spiritual community, and now you have new beliefs. You can still conduct yourself in that right if you see it benefiting you. Just don't fall for the programming that says it has to mean this and that because of this. Do it to empower you. If you grew up in the Catholic faith, I did, and you still see value in that, do it, but you don't have to accept it as it's handed to you without any questioning. Create a new empowered form of it for yourself. Absolutely, Nicole. Absolutely. And but yeah, you have to be willing to pay the price to get what you want. Like, maybe the lesson is in that, like, you can't pay your bills because maybe that shows you a new side. Maybe you've always focused on paying your bills, and because of that, you've cut yourself off from pursuing what it is that you really know that you should be doing because you're like, well, how can you pay the bills? Maybe the bills are not the priority, you all. Like, if you can't pay the phone bill this month, you'll live, you'll survive, or you'll find a way to do it. If you never put yourself out there under that sort of like pressure or just new type of accountability, then you haven't really you played it safe, and you got to play it big. Okay, big actions get big results. And the programming says, don't do that. No, go with what's safe, what's secure, go with what we know. Because you can rely on that. Like if you work the shitty ass job and deal with shitty ass people who play the same shitty ass games all the time. Absolutely, Angela. We all have that divine spark within us. And so if you're part of that system and you mix with those energies, you're gonna get the same shitty ass result, which is the bills will be paid. Everybody around you is going to like approve of it, even though they still like think whatever about you. And life will go on as normal, but you won't like, you'll struggle because you're dealing with these shitty people and reinforcing this horrible lifestyle. Yeah, I still use a lot of the foundations being Lutheran, pick and choose what. Yeah, absolutely, y'all. There's validity to the Bible, like for certain purposes, like I can say that from my own experience of it. Is some validity there. Right, that's April's word. So that's the name of April's business, you all. It's a bath and beauty business called Stardust. So, so yeah, just take the time to like identify those programs, those limiting beliefs. When they come up, it's going to be multi-layered, y'all. They're always going to come. It's going to be as you do the journeying, it's going to be new and new layers of it. And it is like, and it's going to be a constant journey, but you will make progress. Oh, interesting, Nicole. I didn't know that. That's really cool. And you do the yoga thing too. Um, so I know there's that Hindu stuff in there. But as you pull up the things, you will make progress. And y'all, the less you resist and the more focused you are on your like goals and your calling and stuff like that, the more you can transcend because it is an alchemical process. It is a destruction and a recreation. It's a rebirth. So you do have to walk in that underworld in order to get to the other side, the light. But it's worth it. And be okay with the darkness because that's a part of the journey, like um yeah, like not paying your bills is not the worst thing. Okay, cool. So prepare for that. Keep your eyes on the prize. Prepare yourself to meet your fears head on, your limiting beliefs. And know that they're there to shake you. Like that was one of my biggest realizations recently. It was like Oh, this shit's supposed to be scary. I thought it was like, no, you just fix your purpose and then you affirm yourself and blah, blah. It's like, no, like these are real leaps of faith. And the leap of faith that I took recently by quitting my job, it seems so like monumental when it happened. But as I look back, it's like that wasn't even that big of a deal, you all. Like it was just necessary. So y'all, big actions, big results. Reprogram yourself and commit to it. And don't let anybody deter you because they're there to shake you up and to scare you. Know that those things are coming, and then when you can unmask those fears, you know that what they are, and you can refocus, re-strategize. Oh, I don't think I said shadow work is a must. It's making me a better person. Thanks for putting this out there to chat. We need that. Yeah, absolutely, you all. These are the things, y'all, I really have been learning, and I want to discuss these and help everybody heal through these discoveries because I know you've all experienced them. The thing I was going to say about Iana Van Zant is she said lots of spiritual lessons and little bits of wisdom in the video, but one of the things she said was don't act like you do know when you don't know, and don't act like you don't know when you do know. No, it sounds so simple, you all, but such a huge piece of advice. Like, if you're going through something and you don't know what something is, don't try to just act like you know, or just try to like keep going the way you're going because you don't know a better way. Like, stop, acknowledge that you don't know, and then find help. And then if you do know something, don't proceed, like, don't ask other people for what you should do or what jobs you should get. You know what your fucking calling is. Do that shit and find some way to do it. If you can't do it today, do what little bit that you can to work towards doing that. Okay? You know why you're here. You know what you're passionate about. Yeah, absolutely, Angela and Courtney. You know, like for me, it's like I knew that my passion and my calling is spirituality and especially reading tarot cards. But in my mind, it's like, well, nobody around me said it was okay or that I could do that and that it was more than just a hobby or pastime. They didn't even know why I did it. But when I accepted it, yeah, absolutely, Courtney, that would be awesome. I know my calling and I'm doing that shit. That's a great mantra. But like, I didn't value it in myself and other people didn't value it, and that was partially my fault because I didn't say, y'all, this is what I'm about, this is who I am, and you will respect it. But I learned eventually it is not only is it what I enjoy, but it's my calling, and you will either fall into alignment with it or be dismissed because that's what it is. I love it, Courtney. I may do the same thing. So don't act like you do know when you don't know. Don't act like you don't know when you do know. You know what your calling is. Maybe you haven't reached a point where you can acknowledge it as that, but like do the work. And then the other thing she said that I really love is don't act like because something has always been a certain way, it will always be that way. And don't act like because something has never been that it never can be. You all, just because you grew up thinking certain things, living a certain way, being surrounded by certain people, don't think that's always the way things are going to be. You have the freedom every day to choose something different. You have the freedom every day to choose what you want for your life. So do it consciously, make the choice, and then do it on deep levels. Don't just say it on this like conscious level or whatever. Like take that shit within, drive it into your internal self. You do it with affirmations, with programming. You're hacking that, put that into your back end, and then make it your reality. And then don't act like because something's always been a certain way, it'll always be a certain way. Just because you've always lived with debt, or you've always been impoverished, or you've always been whatever, don't act like it always has to be that way. Once again, you can choose what you want, and every day is an opportunity to choose something new. And there's work that you do with it, but you can always choose what you want for life. So, in order to become a billionaire, you all, there's steps to it. You can't just like get that shit overnight. It's a certain amount of conscientiousness that you have to raise to, or consciousness, I should say, that you have to raise to in order to do that. So all of y'all are in the group. That's why we're attuning ourselves to the prosperity manifestation energy because it's not something you can just make the decisions and automatically you have to do it on both levels. You have to do it on a spiritual level and you have to do it with actions as well. Spiritual first, because that's what sort of drives your behavior and your actions. So once you can align and attune yourself to that frequency, if you're in the poverty frequency, you're down here. If you're in the prosperity frequency, you're up here. You see the rate of this vibration? This is the poverty. This is prosperity. You can't just jump from here to here. You have to raise this to a point where you're getting the frequencies the same, okay? So you do that through your spiritual work. Don't expect it to come overnight. There's steps. But by focusing on the goal and not allowing the resistance to block you, you can get there. That's the point of it all. So y'all decide on your new programming, identify the old programming, discard that shit. Decide on what you want to bring into your life and then attune yourself to that energy. Yes. I love it, April. I love when y'all post and get excited. This is really for all of us to share and yeah, and everybody's experience is so unique. That's the cool thing about it. It's like if it were just me sharing, it'd be one thing. But we all can learn so much from each other. That's the value with the tarot group. Think you grow rich is really. Oh, awesome, Nicole, you're reading that. I'm gonna start doing that, you all. So I've done the subconscious book. I'm finishing up You're a Badass at Making Money Today. That book is a great one, you all. I highly encourage that one, especially because it's free on YouTube. And Think and Grow Rich, I've read before. I've done the audiobook on YouTube, but now I have the physical copy. I'm gonna start reading a chapter a day from these books. But yeah, they talked about this stuff way back when. This is not; those aren't even modern books. Like I think the subconscious book is like from the '80s, and then Think and Grow Rich is from like the '20s and '30s. And the stuff that they mention is so pertinent now. Earl Nightingale is from the 1930s, and by the way, if y'all have not watched that video, watch it. And then he mentions practices. That's what we're going to start on this week. But you can start that on your own terms. Don't wait for me. But it's all about reprogramming. And so identify your old programs, discard the ones that are limiting beliefs, identify what it is you want to bring into your life, and then reattune yourself like every day. If you want to be a billionaire, put your highest goal down on paper. Say it. Get comfortable with knowing that's your goal, and then start programming it into you. Because we are creators, we have the ability to bring that forth. It's just a matter of attuning yourself to it, knowing how the mind works, and knowing your own power and your own divine spark, your own link to the divine, and then utilizing it. That's what it's all about. So don't let your fears overcome you. Stay open. Find new ways of doing things. And when a fear does come up, recognize it as that, just a fear. If something's not working, be willing to try something new. But don't give up on something just because people are like trying to fool you with the illusion of it all, or their own programmings and their own limiting beliefs. It's like just accept whatever comes and be smart. Be the master, be in control. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. That's all I have for you all. Did y'all want to say anything before we depart? Happy new moon, by the way. I think it's the new moon today, so I know a lot of you all are doing rituals and ceremonies. Consider doing some work. The new moon actually is great, you all, for planting seeds, and also because the moon is dark, doing work with the subconscious and the shadow work. Yeah, happy new moon. So consider how you can incorporate that into your rituals. And I cannot wait to connect with you all tomorrow who are in the Money Manifestation group. We're going to have a great discussion. Other than that, y'all have a wonderful day. Thank you all so much for joining. This is a really fun topic.